Hare Krishna, Prabhujis and Matajis, Dandat Pranam. We'll start with the Kirtan. Today we are starting with this wonderful Kirtan, which is composed by Srila Rupa Goswami. Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, Manmana Samadhukaram Arpaya Nijapada Pankajamakarande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, Manmana Samadhukaram Arpaya Nijapada Pankajamakarande. यद्यपि समाधिषु विधिरपि पश्यति न तव नखाग्रमरीचिम् यद्यपि समाधिषु विधिरपि पश्यति न तव नखाग्रमरीचिम् इदमिच्छामि निशम्य तवाच्युत तदपि कृपाद्भुतवीचिम् इदमिच्छामि निशम्य तवाच्युत तदपि कृपाद्भुतवीचिम् कृष्णदेव भवन्तं वन्दे कृष्णदेव भवन्तं वन्दे भक्तिरुदञ्चति यद्यपि माधव न त्वयि मम तिलमात्री भक्तिरुदञ्चति यद्यपि माधव न त्वयि मम तिलमात्री परमेश्वरता तदपि तवाधिक दुर्घटघटनविधात्री कृष्णदेव भवन्तं वन्दे कृष्णदेव भवन्तं वन्दे अयमविलोलतयाद्य सनातन कलिताद्भुतरसभारम् अयमविलोलतयाद्य सनातन कलिताद्भुतरसभारम् निवसतु नित्यं निहामृतनिन्दिनी विन्दनमधुरिमसारम् कृष्णदेव भवन्तं वन्दे कृष्णदेव भवन्तं वन्दे मनमानसमधुकरम् अर्पय निजपद पङ्कजामकरन्दे कृष्णदेव भवन्तं वन्दे कृष्णदेव भवन्तं वन्दे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. We'll meditate a little upon the meaning of this wonderful bhajan composed by Srila Rupa Goswami. He says, O Lord Sri Krishna, I am offering a prayer unto you. Please let the bee of my mind be offered the nectarian honey of your lotus feet. Although Brahma in full samadhi cannot catch a glimpse of even a ray of the effulgence from the tips of your toenails. Still, O Achyuta, having heard of the waves of your astonishing mercy, I long to receive your grace. O Madhava, although I don't possess even a sesame seed of bhakti for you, still, by your inconceivable power, which makes the impossible possible, please fulfill the desires of my heart. He Sanatana, because your lotus feet are filled with such wonderful rasa, let the bee of my mind always reside unwaveringly in that nectar which puts everything else to shame, for they are the essence of all sweetness. This is my only prayer. Hare Krishna. Um, so I hope uh, this you enjoyed this wonderful bhajan, and there's a very specific reason why I chose this particular bhajan today, because today's class is there's a lot of glorification of Brahma by Hiranyakashipu. So Lord Brahma is as empowered he is by the Supreme Lord. We should not forget the position of Supreme Lord. So it is very important for us to remember that, and therefore this happened to be a wonderful short bhajan which glorifies the Supreme Lord. And it also talks about the first verse itself says, although Brahma in full samadhi cannot catch a glimpse of even a ray of the effulgence from the tips of your toenails. So therefore, thank you so much for your presence. We will start with the prayers for today, seeking the permission of Parampara to discuss the spiritual matters. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीशा गोपिकान्त राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिनी नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रये। Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gauratushe Namaha Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We'll do the Shikshashtakam prayers. Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreyakairava Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandambudivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritaswadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha Etadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivam Midrisham Ihajani Nanu Ragaha Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadhanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagatisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatat Bhakti Rahetuki Tvai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Budho Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sthita Dhuli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nayanam Kaladashrudaraya Vadanam Katkataruddhaya Gira Pulakairnichitam Vapukkada Tavanama Sorry Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sthita Dhuli Vichint Pulakairnichitam Vapukkada Tavanama Grihane Bhavishyati युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रावृषायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहीन मे आश्लिष्य वा पादरतां पिनस्तु माम् अदर्शनं मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरा हरे कृष्णा Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim Yatkripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Om Pavitra Pavitro Va Sarvavasthan Gatopi Va Yatsmarit Pundarikaksham Sabhahyabhyantaram Shuchihi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. Hare Krishna to all the assembled devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for giving me yet another opportunity to speak a few words from Bhagavatam about Bhagavatam. And I seek blessings of Sri Guru and Gauranga that I speak the right words and I do not digress from the content and repeat what Acharyas and our superiors have spoken. So that I should give relevant and relatable examples which are necessary. So let's begin. And before we begin, I would like to welcome each and every devotee who's present here, who's taken out time on a Saturday morning. Hare Krishna, welcome Vanilla Mataji. Kamya Mataji, Lilanand Prabhu, Sri Gopal Prabhu, Subbarao Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Praveen Prabhu, Madhvi Mataji, Murlidhar Prabhu,
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji,
Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna
Dandavat
Mataji.
Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Nirupama Mataji, Sanjay Prabhu, Subbarao Prabhu, thank you
Hare
so much
Krishna
for
Mataji.
taking out your time for Bhagavatam. And I hope I am audible and the sound is fine. I am
Yes,
not breaking.
Fine,
Hare
Mataji.
Mataji.
everything is perfect.
Okay. So we'll start with understanding what we are covering today. First, we have already seen Raghunandan Prabhu and Lilanand Prabhu covering the first part of this chapter, which is from first to 16th verse. They have already covered. So what did we cover in those? We basically saw how Hiranyakashipu starts performing severe austerities and penances. The main reason for his penance is he wants to become more powerful. He's very, very angry about his brother's death, and he holds Vishnu responsible for killing his brother Hiranyaksha. So, and that's why he wants to become more powerful than Supreme Lord Vishnu, and he wants to kill Vishnu also. And in that process, first he wants to become immortal to be able to do that. So, and he tries to please Brahma. And actually, we will see in this chapter what is the thought process of an asura who is actually a demon, what kind of thoughts they will have, and how they negate the position of the Supreme Lord and try to give somebody more importance who is more apparent and visible to them. So they try to give them more importance and treat them as the Supreme. That's what we will see. And it was very eye-opening for me, because every time, even before the KC days, whenever we never thought of Supreme Lord Vishnu as the Supreme, I felt that I was that Hiranyakashipu. So it was very enlightening for me while I was reading this chapter and I was doing a deep dive into his thoughts. So for a moment, I was thinking so many of us, we don't know, when we don't know the position of the Supreme Lord, and how we negate that position and we try to give all other reasons. This could be the Supreme Lord, he could be the Supreme Lord, or she could be the Paramashakti and things like that. And so what kind of thoughts we are holding, and how we got the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and all the acharyas of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya that we belong to. And this parampara has given us a lot, especially this enlightenment about who exactly is the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. And that is very, very important. That's what I understood after doing this chapter. So I am actually not neither capable nor I have the qualification of taking up such a important topic. But all glories to our gurus and acharyas and Lilanand Prabhu, who has given me this opportunity to speak a few words. So Hiranyakashipu, in this chapter, what I would be covering in the next few verses would be how he is glorifying Brahma, how he offers prayers and smartly asking for boons which can avoid all the possible causes of death. So that is what is covered in the remaining parts of this chapter. So we'll start. My throat is really bad. I'm just recovering from a sore throat. So I may now not sound really good, but I'll try to cover the chapter within the given time. So the way we will go is I will do the shloka. I would, if anybody volunteers for translation can do, but I'll quickly go through the purport so that we can cover, because there are about 22 to 23 texts that we need to cover. So therefore, purport I will be doing, but definitely I would encourage anybody volunteering for reading the translation, because that way every one of us can touch Bhagavatam in some way or the other, just by volunteering to speak whatever is written in the translation. Text 17, Shri Brahmo Vacha उत्तिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भद्रं ते तपःसिद्धोऽसि कश्यप वरदोऽहम् अनुप्राप्तो वीर्यताम् ईप्सितो वरः. Translation. Anybody wants to volunteer?
I will do, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please do.
Translation. Lord Brahma said, O son of Kashyapa Muni, please get up. Please get up. All good fortune unto you. You are now perfect in the performance of your austerities, and therefore I may give you a benediction. You may now ask from me whatever you desire, and I shall try to fulfill your wish.
Purport. Srila Madhvacharya. So translation and purports by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Purport. Srila Madhvacharya quotes from the Skanda Puran, which says that Hiranyakashipu, having become a devotee of Lord Brahma, who is known as Hiranyagarbha, so Brahma is known as Hiranyagarbha, and having undergone a severe austerity to please him, is also known as Hiranyaka. Rakshasas and demons worship various demigods such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva just to take the post of these demigods. This we have already explained in previous verses. So here an important thing that we need to see is Hiranyakashipu is actually has performed these austerities for 100 celestial years, and he's pleased Brahmaji. Brahmaji appeared in front of him, okay, and he's Brahmaji is bestowing. He's saying that I am ready to fulfill any of your wishes. That's what Brahmaji is saying right now. Now, what we need to understand is what is the fate of demigod worshippers and what do they get? So, we already saw in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9 and text 25. Krishna says, Yanti deva vrata devan pitrinyanti pitruvrata bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajino apimam. So what is Krishna saying? That whoever worships the demigods, they go to their respective planets. So here also Hiranyakashipu is performing such austerities to please Brahmaji, so that, and in the purport also we say that we see what Prabhupada mentions: Rakshasas and demons worship various demigods such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva just to take the post of these demigods. So there are 2 points here. One is, what is the fate of these people who are worshipping demigods? They go to their respective planets. So Brahma is in Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, and he wants to go there. And what he wants to do? He wants to take over the position also, take the post of these demigods. And why do anybody worships demigods? Is because their heart is filled. When somebody's heart is filled with material desires, is overwhelming. The material desires are overwhelming and they want to fulfill the desires. That's when they approach demigods, because demigods are easier to please. But though it is easier to please, but the austerities are very difficult, but they can get angry very quickly, and they can also be pleased. They can be happy also very quickly. Where do we see that? We actually see that in 10th Canto 88th chapter, where the introduction itself starts with Prabhupada saying that Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva can bestow or withdraw favors. But whereas Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are satisfied or angered very quickly, Lord Vishnu is not. That's what it says, the introduction. So Lord Vishnu cannot be angered or satisfied very quickly. So angered, we have seen that, okay, when Bhrigu Muni came and kicked on the chest, we heard Vamshidhari Prabhu give a wonderful class last Sunday, where we saw how actually Bhrigu Muni goes to the different this one I don't know whether it was Vamshidhari Prabhu or somebody's lecture I was hearing, whether it was Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, that he goes to test Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu, who is the supreme, who is the most supreme, and who is the one that we need to worship. So he goes and tests Brahma and Shiva, and they were angered very quickly, and they also had the element of doubt. But when it came to Lord Vishnu, he did not get angry, and in fact he was trying to cool down Brigumuni, even though he had kicked him on his chest. So that is the nature of Lord Vishnu, and that's when he declares that, okay, Vishnu is the supreme Anjapesi. So, in this 9.25 also Bhagavad Gita, we see that everybody is trying to please demigods because they want something very quickly to be satisfied. So anyone whose heart is totally overwhelmed with material desires, and they want those desires to be fulfilled very quickly, those go to the demigods. So, but Srila Prabhupada in one of the morning walks also, he mentioned, I was hearing in one of the lectures, that try hard as you may, try as hard as you may on your own or going to demigods, but all your desires can never be fulfilled. That is the nature of our human desires. It is not possible to fulfill each and every desire of ours, even if we go to demigods. So that is a very important sentence when we are trying to understand. So are there any examples of demons who are trying to take demigod's position? Like how Prabhupada said in the purport, is there any example? Do you remember of any example? Somebody trying to take demigod's position?
Bali Maharaj.
Okay. Just last Sunday, Vamshidhari Prabhu covered one nice example. Was it Vamshidhari? I'm getting confused because so many lectures have happened. Even I am confused. But I think it was him only. He talked about this Vrikasura. Right? Vrikasura in 10th canto, 88th chapter. He is... he goes to the holy place of Kedarnath and he begins worshipping Lord Shiva. And what he does is that he begins offering pieces of his own flesh in oblation in the fire to please Lord Shiva. And he does that for 1 week, but Shiva is not appearing. Then finally he gets distraught and he tries to cut his own neck. When he does that, then Shiva appears and says that, okay, why, what are you doing? What do you want? Then he says that, yes, what I want is actually, I want the power that on whoever I put my hand on, they should turn to ashes. And that way, so he's awarded that because Shiva is Ashutosh. So within a week, so there also we see within a week, this has happened. And so he gets the boon and he says that now I want to test my boon, and he wants to test it on Shiva only because he wants to take Shiva's position and he wants to take possession of Parvati Mataji. So, and that is his reason. That's why he wants to take the position of Shiva. And somehow, and then he starts running behind Shiva to be able to put that in. Shiva runs everywhere. And finally, Lord Vishnu tricks him and he puts his hand on his own head and he turns to ashes. So that is the story that we had heard about this last week. So that shows that the demoniac actually try to do that. So one is that they worship the demigods, they try to go to those planets, and also they try to take the position of the demigods. So all three hence proved. That's what Prabhupada does. So as against, if we see this is the nature of the ones who are worshipping the demigods. What is the nature of the devotees then in that case? What so if we compare demigod worship and the Supreme Lord Krishna's worship, we see that demigods get what they ask. So whatever they ask, they try to get that. But devotees are awarded by the Supreme Lord whatever is good for them. Devotees don't ask for anything, but they are just awarded whatever is good for them. So, and demigod worship is so complex. We saw that Hiranyakashipu has performed 100 celestial years, tapasya. In that, his half body is gone. Ants and worms have eaten them. He is half skeleton is visible. In that, the life air is moving up and down. So, how is that even possible? But that is the kind of austerities they are taking up. That is the nature of demigod worship, where it is like mantras, tantras, rituals, complicated. so many rules and regulations that they have to follow. But when it comes to the Supreme Lord, if one attempts very sincerely to please Krishna, that's all he wants. But we have many examples like that. Can you name some of them?
Dhruv Maharaj,
Dhruv Maharaj,
Prahlad Maharaj also.
Prahlad Maharaj. How old were they?
Just 5-6 years.
Yes, compared to the 100 celestial years of tapasya, what was their age? They were also Satya Yuga only. Prahlad Maharaj, Satya Yuga, right? But
Only 6 months of austerity.
yes, right? 5-year-old boy, right? In both the cases. Who else? These are the examples of children. Anybody in animals?
Gajendra.
Yes. Even squirrel,
Yes.
who tried to please Rama. Anybody in birds?
Jatayu.
Jatayu. Everybody please. Everybody volunteer. Huh? Then in women,
Shabari Mataji.
yes, Shabari Mataji,
Kunti Maharani, Draupadi.
Maharani,
Draupadi. Yeah.
wonderful. Kubja. See, so there is no external consideration in bhakti, right? So there is no qualification that Supreme Lord is seeing, okay, they have to do this, they should be this, and all that. Whether it is an animal, whether it is a bird, whether it is a woman, whether it is a man, whether it is a child, Lord is ready to give them, award them whatever is good for them, right? So that is the nature of Supreme Lord's worship. And here we are comparing with the demigod worship. We go to the next one, text 18. Adraksham ahamitam te hritsaram mahadadbhutam damshabhakshita dehasya pranahya sherate. Translation, anybody wants to do?
Hare Krishna.
Translation. I have been very much astonished to see your endurance. In spite of being eaten and beaten by all kinds of worms and ants, you are keeping your life air circulating within your bones. Certainly, this is wonderful. Perfect.
And humanity. It appears that the soul can exist even through the bones, as shown by the personal examples of Hiranyakashipu. When great yogis are in samadhi, even when their bodies are buried and their skin, marrow, blood, and so on have all been eaten, if only their bones remain, they can exist in a transcendental position. Very recently, an archaeologist published findings indicating that Lord Christ, after being buried, was exhumed and that he then went to Kashmir. There have been many actual examples of yogis being buried in trance and exhumed alive and in good condition several hours later. A yogi can keep himself alive in a transcendental state, even if buried not only for many days but for many years. So we see that whenever something in translation comes, which feels that which can put us in a doubt, ki, does this really happen? Is this even possible? So therefore, this is myth. So sometimes we may have that tendency. That's the reason why we will see purport Srila Prabhupada usually covers anything which can make us relate to this particular thing, that this is not anything wonderful or inconceivable. This is actually possible, and there have been certain examples. So like that, Prabhupada actually supports the purport. So purport is basically an extension of the translation where he gives a context of what's happening, or he will give relevant examples in today's world, or he'll give references from the scriptures. So this way he will support what is there in the purport. So it makes us understand that, yes, so this is how we can understand the translation. That's what we can see in Prabhupada's Atrita antarada to explain that what is given in the translation. Now here, translation actually talks about being bitten by all kinds of worms and ants, and you are seeing air circulating within your bones. So we may think that how is that possible that somebody is still alive even after all that. So he is giving examples that siddhis and samadhis are very natural for yogis, even if they are buried under things. And then he's given example of Jesus Christ. Why? Because obviously he is catering to the Western audience, and this is a worldwide scriptures, accessible scripture, right? So therefore, everybody should be able to relate within their understandable vicinity of the mind that, okay, what can we, and then he also gives example of this archaeologist published findings, right? So that is what Prabhupada is giving. But another example is also there of what we can understand from here is this really what devotees should be fascinated about ki, acha, this is how a yogi is doing. Do I also want to do that? Does it fascinate us? It does not fascinate us at all. And an example of something mystical like this happening with a devotee is also there. It is with Srila Haridas Thakur. So what happens when a Muslim ruler arrested Haridas Thakur because Haridas Thakur converted to Vaishnavism. And this ruler or Qazi, whoever you call, basically what he does is that he orders Haridas to renounce all his beliefs, or otherwise he should die. This was the order. So obviously Haridas Thakur did not give up. So he was whipped in 21 marketplaces. Okay, and he was left to die. He was thrown into the ocean. But Haridas Thakur comes back alive. And so what happens? Many people start believing that actually he's a peer or mystical person because of that. But actually he comes back alive because of his power of devotion. Supreme Lord protects him, right? So siddhis and inconceivable things have happened just 500 years back also. It's not something extraordinary. So it is definitely possible. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Naitat purvarshayashchakrur karisyanti chapare nirambur dharayet pranan ko vai divya samashatam. Translation, anybody?
Shall I read, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Yeah. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Even saintly persons like Bhrigu, born previously, could not perform such severe austerities, nor will anyone in the future be able to do so. Who within these three worlds can sustain his life without even drinking water for 100 celestial years? Hare Krishna, thank you.
Yeah, that is true. Who within these three worlds can sustain his life without even drinking water for 100 celestial years? So Purport says, it appears that even if a yogi does not drink a drop of water, he can live for many, many years by the yogic process, though his outer body has been eaten by ants and moths. Even like if we have to think of examples, Dhruv Maharaj also did 6 months of harsh tapasya. And that also we felt it was very harsh, right, for a devotee, where in the 3rd month he stops drinking water. In the sense, not the whole of the month, but basically he drinks water every 9 days, once every 9 days. And in the 4th month, he inhales only air, right? So air. So like that, he goes on till 6 months and then Supreme Lord appears. So if we have to think about ourselves also, we do Nirjal Ekadashi once in a year. Sometimes some of us also try to do Nirjal every Ekadashi. I know of wonderful devotees that way. Even I tried for some time, but it took a toll on my health. So I stopped it. It was not suiting my prakriti. So, so we do that. But we have seen here that Dhruv Maharaj was able to do at least 9 days, and after that he inhaled only air, right? But that was Satya Yuga. Right? Now we are in Kali Yuga. Satya Yuga means Dhruv Maharaj ruled for 36,000 years. He had such a huge lifespan also. What do we have? We have only 100 years. In that also active years are few, right? How many of us are actually living till 100? So we don't have to try such hard ways of pleasing the Supreme Lord. We have wonderful process and system given by Srila Prabhupada. If we just stick to that, that is more than enough, which we are trying very hard to do. Text 20. Vyavasayena tenena dushkarena manasvinam taponishthena bhavata jitoham diti nandana. Translation. Anybody wants to do the translation?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Translation. My dear son of Diti, with your great determination and austerity, you have done what was impossible even for great saintly person, and thus I have certainly been conquered by you. Will I continue, Mataji, purport?
I'll continue, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Purport. In regard to the word Jita, Srila Madhva Muni gives the following quotation from Shabda Nirnaya. Parabhutam Vashastham cha Jitabhit Uchyate Buddhai. If one comes under someone else's control or is defeated by another, he is called Jita. Hiranyakashipu's austerity was so great and wonderful that even Lord Brahma agreed to be conquered by him. So conquer is a very, very strong word. Actually, I looked up the dictionary to check what does conquer mean. Conquer means winning somebody by force. Because if you're just winning something, it's called win, where you are putting your effort and you are getting a result. That's called a win. But when it is conquered, means winning something by force. So this austerity was so strong and it was like heating up the entire material universe that it forced Brahma to come and appear in front of Hiranyakashipu. So that's what this means. Even Lord Brahma agreed to be conquered by him. Text 21. Tatasta ashisha sarva dadamya surapungava martasya tehya martasya darshanam naphalam mama. Translation. Anybody wants?
I will do, Mataji.
Yes,
O
Mataji.
best of the Asuras, for this reason I am now prepared to give you all benedictions according to your desire. I belong to the celestial world of demigods who do not die like human beings. Therefore, although you are subject to death, your audience with me will not go in vain. Thank you, Mataji.
So Asura Pungava. So he is actually calling him the best of Asuras. Asura Pungava. In purport, it appears that human beings and asuras are subject to death, whereas demigods are not. The demigods who reside with Lord Brahma in Satyaloka go to Vaikuntha Loka in their present bodily constructions at the time of dissolution. Therefore, although Hiranyakashipu had undergone severe austerities, Lord Brahma predicted that he had to die. He could not become immortal or even gain equal status with the demigods. The great austerities and penances he had performed for so many years could not give him protection from death. This was foretold by Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma is saying, although you are subject to death, he's saying that. Now in this purport also, what is Prabhupada saying? Right? Demigods who reside with Lord Brahma in Satyaloka go to Vaikuntha Loka in their present bodily constructions at the time of dissolution. Right? Who do not die like human beings, according to you. Okay. So he's comparing, Lord Brahma is comparing the demigods' life and death with Hiranyakashipus, and he's saying you are subject to death, we may not be subject to death. So there are two contexts here. One is that those who have excelled in their devotional service, those demigods, while being in their heavenly planets also, or those people who are residents of Satyaloka, if they have excelled in their worship to Supreme Lord, at the time of dissolution, they can actually go to Vaikuntha Loka. Yeah, so what is, so so it feels like an apparent contradiction, right? Because we have heard Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. Okay, but what it basically means that Satyaloka is actually like a launch pad. It's like the place from where you can either go up or you can basically go down. But it is not possible without performing the devotion service to the Supreme Lord, because nature of Vaikuntha Loka is, it's a part of the spiritual world. which is eternal, which is beyond the influence of time, space, or material destruction, like what we see in the material universe. And we also know that Brahma's lifespan also has the end time. His 100 years is 311 trillion years and 40 billion years, right? So Brahma and his associates, if they qualify during this lifespan, if they qualify, they transcend the material creation and they attain liberation, if they qualify. So even the demigods of Satyaloka who are residing in these, their body is different. Obviously, it is meant with they are highly refined material bodies, but still they are subject to material laws. But if they develop spiritual consciousness, or if they develop that bhakti, they can still transcend the material existence and they can attain the Vaikuntha Loka. So there is still a spiritual eligibility which is needed there also. And that form then would be their swarupa, their spiritual forms, right? And so that is Lord Brahma's unique position. If he has perfected his devotion, then he does that. That is one part. There is also another thing that we can see in Goloka chart, and just show that. This came in our recent discussion in the morning reading class, where Lalit Mohan Prabhu was also clarifying to us that there is a Vaikuntha even within the material universe also, because after Satyaloka there is a Dhruvaloka, right? We know that Lord awarded that Dhruvaloka planet to Dhruva to stay. But there also there is no, like here, if we see Dhruvaloka or the pole star is the abode of Kshirodakshay Vishnu within this material world. Upon it, there is an ocean of milk, and within the ocean, there is an island known as Shweta Dvipa. Kshirodakshay Vishnu, as Paramatma, Super Soul, is situated in everyone's heart and even within every atom. So Kshirodakshay Vishnu is the same Super Soul who is sitting within our heart, but within this material universe, he also has a place which is Shweta Dvipa. So there are two sides of this. I was hearing in his clarification. And then there is also this in the Viraja river, like there is a Karanodakshay Vishnu also. And once the Viraja river is crossed, that's where we start getting the Vaikuntha Lokas. So within the material universe, it is basically this particular Shweta Dvipa. That is also wherever Vishnu is there, that is Vaikuntha. We go back to our verses. Text 22. So till now we are seeing that what Brahma is speaking to Hiranyakashipu, we are seeing a part of that only. That is continuing. It will continue until the next verse, which is text 23. From text 24, we will see actually Hiranyakashipu glorifying Brahma and offering the prayers. So in prayers also, we have always seen that there are different components. One is the prayers will first start with glorification of whoever you are praying to. You first glorify them, their position, and then you talk about your existing position, that what is my state right now, and then you also ask for benedictions. So there are about 4 elements. One is glorification, one is our current status, third is actually stating the offering the prayers, and fourth is asking for benedictions. So text 22, Shri Narada Uvacha, Ityuktvaadibhavo devo bhakshitangam pipilakai kamandalu jale nau kshad divyena mukharadhasa. Translation. Anybody wants to do?
I will do, Mataji, if nobody wants.
Yeah, okay, Mataji, no problem. Anybody can repeat. Vanilla Mataji, you can also read. Please don't think I stopped you. I was just encouraging everybody to read. Please volunteer, no problem. Yeah.
Translation. Sri Narada Muni continued. After speaking these words to Hiranyakashipu, Lord Brahma, the original being of this universe, who is extremely powerful, sprinkled transcendental, infallible spiritual water from his Kamandalu upon Hiranyakashipu's body, which had been eaten away by ants and moths. Thus he enlivened Hiranyakashipu.
Yeah. We may wonder where did Narad Muni come from. Actually, this is a conversation happening between Narad Muni and Yudhishthir. Within that, there is another conversation happening. So there are multiple layers of conversations which are happening. So Sri Narad Muni continued. After speaking these words to Hiranyakashipu, so here the important point is Lord Brahma, the original being of this universe. So Prabhupada picks up this and he talks about in this purport. So Lord Brahma is the first created being within the universe and is empowered by Supreme Lord to create. Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye, the Adi Deva or Adi Kavi, the first living creature, was personally taught by Supreme Personality of Godhead through the heart. There was no one to teach him. But since the Lord is situated within Brahma's heart, Brahma was educated by the Lord himself. Lord Brahma, being especially empowered, is infallible in doing whatever he wants. This is the meaning of the word Amogha Radhasa. He desired to restore Hiranyakashipu's original body, and therefore by sprinkling transcendental water from his water pot, he immediately did so. So what do we see here is that Prabhupada is expanding on this. Lord Brahma, the original being of the universe. Right? So we see in, actually we have covered this previously also, but in Canto 3, in the chapter 8, is all about how Brahma was manifested from the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. That can be studied in detail if you cover the entire Canto 3, the first initial few chapters, especially the chapter 8. It talks about how exactly Brahma was born and how did he take form, how did he come out of the lotus stem, the lotus bud. And it is given very much in detail. And after coming out, he is not able to see where did I come from, why am I sitting on this lotus flower, and what is the source. He tries to go and swim through the stem, and he reaches until the navel, but still he can't see the Supreme Lord. Everything is very dark around him. So that is when he gets inspired within his heart, and he hears the two syllables, tapa. So after Brahma hears that tapa, and he performs penances for 1,000 celestial years. Now, how much is a celestial year? Does anybody know? One celestial year is equal to how many human years?
6 months, Mataji.
No, Mataji. 1 day is equal to 6 months. 1 day of
One day of heavenly planet is called 6 months of our human.
So it is 360 human years. 1 year is 360 human years. 1 year, 1 celestial year. So that is also given from in Bhagavatam only in the various purports. Prabhupada has given the calculation also. So he is able to get in 1,000 celestial years. We saw 100 celestial years tapasya done by Hiranyakashipu. Brahma does 1,000 celestial years, and he is able to get darshan of the Lord, and he is also able to see Vaikuntha, and Lord empowers him with the knowledge and potency to do visarga, to do further creation. And that is what is the Chatushloki Bhagavatam about, like how he is empowered by the Supreme Lord to do the further creation. So, and even in the text 33 of 2nd Canto 9th chapter, also Supreme Lord himself declares that ahameva samevagre nanyad yat sad asat param paschadaham yade tacha yo vashishyeta sosmyaham. He says, Anmata, Brahma, it is me, I am the one who is existing before the creation. Aham evasam evagre. In starting Lokuda, I was there, and there was nothing but myself, nor was there any material nature. the cause of this creation. So that which you see now is also me. It is my manifestations, and after annihilation, what remains will also be me, because everything comes into my garbha and sits within me. So that's what he says in that aham evasam evagre. So when Brahma is speaking to the Supreme Lord, Brahma offers his prayers and Supreme Lord answers this way and then gives him the empowerment to create. So that is very important to know, so that we understand the context very well. That if because if somebody is coming to Bhagavatam, let's say they opened a page and they read only that, it is very important to understand that who's the original creator. And this is where I was talking about initially, that we need to understand how asuras think. What is he doing? He is totally discrediting the presence of the Supreme Lord and the power also which is given by the Supreme Lord to Brahma. Text 23. Satat कीचकवल्मीकात् सह ओजो बलान्वितः सर्वावयव सम्पन्नो वज्रसंहाननो युवा उत्थितस्तप्त हेमाभो विभावसुर इवै दशाः. Anybody for translation?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As soon as he was sprinkled with the water from Lord Brahma's water pot, Hiranyakashipu arose, endowed with the full body, with limbs as strong as that they could bear the striking of a thunderbolt. With physical strength and bodily luster resembling molten gold, he emerged from the anthill a completely young man, just as fire springs from fuel wood. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Purport. So here, as soon as he was sprinkled with water from Lord Brahma's water pot. So in 5th canto, what did we saw? What is the water which is in the water pot of Brahma? Does anybody remember?
Ganges, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. So Ganges, which has come from the spiritual world, which descends into Brahma's water pot, and then it goes further into the heavenly planets, and from there it descends into the Bhuloka. Right? So that is the power of the spiritual world. How that water can, what it has done, this body which was half eaten away by the worms and moths, he is now emerged as a completely young man, just as fire springs from the fuel wood, and his body is actually resembling molten gold. So, and he comes out totally young and strong and very, very bright. So, purport, Hiranyakashipu was revitalized, so much so that his body was quite competent to tolerate the striking of thunderbolts. He was now a young man with a strong body and a very beautiful bodily luster, resembling molten gold. This is the rejuvenation that took place because of this severe austerity and penance. But basically, it is the power of the transcendental water which is actually put on him. So until now, we saw the conversation, but not the conversation, but basically Brahma speaking to Hiranyakashipu and pleased and saying that, okay, I am ready to give benediction. Now we'll see glorification of Brahma and what are the prayers offered by Hiranyakashipu. And text 24. Sa nirikshambhari devam hamsavaham upasthitam nanama shirasa bhumau tattarshana mahotsavaha. Anybody for translation?
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I read Mataji?
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Seeing Lord Brahma present before him in the sky, carried by his swan airplane, Hiranyakashipu was extremely pleased. He immediately fell flat with his head on the ground and began to express his obligation to the Lord.
Yeah. This is going to be a little long purport, and this is the only long purport, but I'll try to cover it quickly. It is self-explanatory. That's how Prabhupada has made it. It's very important to read this particular purport, so I will read it. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.23 to 24, येऽप्यन्य देवता भक्ता यजन्ति श्रद्धयान्विता तेऽपि माम् एव कौन्तेय अविधिपूर्वकम् अहं हि सर्वयज्ञानां भोक्ता च प्रभुरेव च न तु मामभिजानन्ति तत्त्वेनातश्च्यवन्ति ते. So what is Supreme Lord saying? Whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone. Ye anya devata bhakta. But it is offered without true understanding. I am the only enjoyer and the only subject of sacrifice. Those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. And that's what is happening right now. In effect, Krishna says persons engaged in the worship of demigods are not very intelligent, although such worship is indirectly offered to me. For example, when a man pours water on the leaves and branches of a tree without pouring water on the root, he does so without sufficient knowledge or without observing regulative principles. The process of watering a tree is to pour water on the root. Similarly, the process of rendering service to different parts of the body is to supply food to the stomach. The demigods are, so to speak, different officers and directors in the government of the Supreme Lord. One has to follow the laws made by the government, not by the officers or directors. Similarly, everyone is to offer his worship to the Supreme Lord only. That will automatically satisfy the different officers and directors of the Lord. The officers and directors are engaged as a representative of the government, and to offer some bribe to the officers and directors is illegal. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita as avidhi purvakam. In other words, Krishna does not approve the unnecessary worship of the demigods. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that there are many types of yajna performances recommended in the Vedic literatures, but actually all of them are meant for satisfying the Supreme Lord. Yajna means Vishnu. In the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that one should work only for satisfying Yajna or Vishnu. The perfectional form of human civilization, known as Varnashrama Dharma, is specifically meant for satisfying Vishnu. Therefore, Krishna says, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices because I am the Supreme Master. However, less intelligent persons, without knowing this fact, worship demigods for temporary benefit. Therefore, they fall down to material existence and do not achieve the desired goal of life. So we saw here. Yeah. Then, if however anyone has any material desire to be fulfilled, he better pray for it to the Supreme Lord, although that is not pure devotion, and he will thus achieve the desired result. Although Hiranyakashipu offered his obeisances unto Lord Brahma, he was strongly inimical towards Lord Vishnu. This is the symptom of an asura. Asuras worship the demigods as being separate from the Lord, not knowing that all the demigods are powerful because of being servants of the Lord. If the Supreme Lord were to withdraw the powers of the demigods would no longer be able to offer benedictions to their worshippers. The difference between a devotee and a non-devotee or asura is that a devotee knows that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that everyone derives power from him. So that is the main difference. Without worshipping the demigods for particular powers, a devotee worships Lord Vishnu, knowing that if he desires a particular power, he can get that power while acting as Lord Vishnu's devotee. Therefore, in the Shastra Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam 2.3.10, it is recommended अकामः सर्वकामो वा मोक्षकामा उदारधि तीव्रेण भक्ति योगेन यजेता पुरुषं परम्. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of material desires, free from material desires, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. Even if a person has material desires, instead of worshipping the demigods, he should pray to the Supreme Lord so that his connection with the Supreme Lord will be established and he will be saved from becoming a demon or a non-devotee. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya gives the following quotation from Brahma Tarka. एकस्थानेक कार्यत्वाद् विष्णु प्राधान्यतस्तथा जीवस्य तद् अधीनत्वान् न भिन्नाधिकृतं वचः. Since Vishnu is the supreme, by worshipping Vishnu, one can fulfill all one's desires. There is no need to divert one's attention to any demigod. So this is a long purport. Why has Prabhupada given this purport? Because this is the first verse which is being offered as a prayer by Hiranyakashipu to Brahma, and he's saying that Hiranyakashipu, he immediately fell flat with his head on the ground and began to express his obligation to the Lord. So this is where he starts expressing. So it is very important for Prabhupada to clarify the supremacy, who is actually the Supreme Lord. So if we summarize this long purport, then what are the important topics we have covered in this? One is that worship of demigods is misguided. It is avidhi purvakam. It is improper worship. Without understanding that demigods are actually deriving all their power, empowerment to conduct whatever they are doing. Like even now, if Brahma is able to revitalize Hiranyakashipu, how did he get the power? Because he was awarded the power to do Visarga by the Supreme Lord himself. He was the one who was given that empowerment. So, and there are two analogies which Prabhupada has given. One is of the tree, where you water the root and it will nourish the whole tree. And that's how worshipping Krishna will satisfy all the demigods automatically. You don't have to go to each one to satisfy one desire. And then he also gave the example of government, where he's talking about you don't have to give bribes to the officers, to the demigods. Instead of following the laws of the government, government is the Supreme Lord himself. So it is wrong. It is illegal to do that. Then he also talked about demigods are the servants of Krishna. So, and they derive all the power from the Supreme Lord. And they don't even have the power to grant the benedictions independently. Even that power to grant benedictions also Supreme Lord is only given. Right? And so therefore, one who is worshipping the demigods is doing it without any proper understanding. And that is the Asura's misconception. Like demons like Hiranyakashipu, what are they doing? They are failing to recognize that demigods are dependent on Lord Vishnu. And he's treating them as a separate entity. He is treating Brahma as the supreme. And then we saw in the purport also that Yagya means Vishnu. And Yagya is meant for Vishnu. All sacrifices, all religious duties are ultimately meant to pleasing Vishnu only, as per Bhagavad Gita. Right? Then, and therefore, so less intelligent will worship the demigods. That's what we saw. So what do people with broad intelligence do? They worship Krishna. So Bhagavatam 2.3.10, which says that whether one is akama sarva kamova moksha kama udharadhi. What is it? Akama, nika akama unna. Like you don't have any desires. Sarva kamova, you have all the desires. Moksha kama, you are desiring liberation. Whatever you are doing, the ultimate path is to worship Krishna. And worshipping the Supreme Lord will actually give you that direct connection with him. And so even if there is something that you are lacking, Krishna also says, right, I provide what you lack and I retain what you have. He says that, what is that?
Ananya Shintayantam 9.22 Mataji. Yeah. Yogakshemam Vahamyaham.
Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. He's saying Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. I provide what you lack and I retain what you have. What does it mean? It is his promise, and whatever is written in Bhagavad Gita, it is absolute because it is spoken by the absolute truth. So there is no doubt. He will provide. We just have to have faith on that. So we don't have to beat around the bush and we don't have to try pleasing so many personalities. Just please one personality and that is good enough. So that way what will happen? This approach will help us from or it will prevent us from becoming a non-devotee or asura. And it will safeguard our spiritual progress only when we are very clear about our ultimate goal and what exactly we need to do. There is no question of confusion there. And that's what Madhvacharya's Brahmatarka quotation also is talking about, that only. It is eliminating the need for demigod worship in the first place. So that is what we have seen in this very, very important purport. We go to the next. Text 25. Utthaya pranjalih prahva ikshamaano drisha vibhum harshashrupulako bhedo gira gadgadaya grinat. Translation.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Translation. Then getting up from the ground and seeing Lord Brahma before him, the head of the Daityas was overwhelmed by jubilation. With tears in his eyes, his whole body shivering, he began praying in a humble mood, with folded hands and a faltering voice to satisfy Lord Brahma. Hare Krishna.
So, getting up from the ground. So, this is a basic simple that self-explanatory, that he's becoming so overwhelmed seeing Brahma, tears with his eyes, his 100 celestial years ka tapasya is coming to fruition, right? And so he was in that ecstatic mood, and he begins his prayers. Just 1 minute. I sit in a close to my laptop heats. So text 26-27. Shri Hiranyakashipur Uvacha. Kalpanti kala srishtena yondhena tamasavritam abhivyanak jagad idam swayam jyoti swarochisha atmana trivrita chedam srijatyavati lumpati rajasattvatamo dhamne paraya mahate namaha. Translation. Anybody to do the translation?
Hare Krishna. Can do that.
Yes, please. You can.
Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord within this universe. At the end of each day of his life, the universe is fully covered with dense darkness by the influence of time, and then again during his next day, that self-effulgent Lord, by his own effulgence, manifests, maintains, and destroys the entire cosmic manifestation through the material energy, which is invested with the three modes of material nature. He, Lord Brahma, is the shelter of those modes of nature, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So he is offering his obeisances. And if you observe, it is as if it is offering to the Supreme Lord only. So the purport says the words Abhivyanak Jagad Idam refers to who creates this cosmic manifestation. The original creator is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Janmadyasya Vyataha. So we see that as soon as there is a element of doubt, Prabhupada jumps in and he will again re-establish again and again. How many ever times he has to do it, he will do it. But Prabhupada will clarify that Lord Brahma is the secondary creator. When Lord Brahma is empowered by Lord Krishna as the engineer to create the phenomenal world, he becomes the supremely powerful feature within this universe. The total material energy is created by Krishna, and later, taking advantage of all that has necessarily been created, Lord Brahma engineers the entire phenomenal universe. At the end of Lord Brahma's day, everything up to Swargaloka is inundated with water, and the next morning, when there is darkness in the universe, Brahma again brings the phenomenal manifestation into existence. Therefore, he is described here as he who manifests this universe. Treen Gunan Brunoti. Lord Brahma takes advantage of the three modes of material nature. Prakriti, material nature, is described here as Trivrita, the source of the three material modes. Srila Madhvacharya comments in this connection that Trivrita means Prakritya. Thus, Lord Krishna is the original creator, Lord Brahma is the original engineer. So, as we know, in the second canto and third canto, it has been described very elaborately about the Sarga and the Visarga. So, Sarga is the creation of the original elements, the raw materials which are needed to create the material universe in the first place are all provided by Krishna only, right? In the form of first through Karanodakshaya Vishnu, and everything actually comes into manifestation, right? All the elements are provided, and then what happens is that Brahma is also born from the lotus stem, from the navel of the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and then he is empowered. What is he empowered with? The power to combine these elements to create the different things within the material universe. So that's the reason why for every material universe there is one Brahma. So there are different Brahmas in different material universe. So this Brahma in this material universe, that's why it again and again it is saying you are the creator within this universe. If you see this one, right? Obeisances unto the Supreme Lord within this universe, right? So he is telling the correct thing only, but that's what it is. So within this universe means within this universe, you are creating everything, because he's been empowered to do the engineering. Engineering to do what? Create the different bodies based on the three permutations and combinations of the Sattva Guna, Tamo Guna, Rajo Guna. These three combined with our material desires from the past, right? So what happens when any body is created is based on a desire and the combination of these three gunas, and also the credits and debits of their karma and how much kala can they spend in that particular body. Everything is pre-decided. So Prakriti awards that particular body to a particular soul depending on these combinations. And who has created these different types of bodies? That is the 84 lakh species are basically created by Brahma using the elements which are given by. So if one may say that this building belongs to me, right? But Prabhupada has clarified many times, who gave you the soil? From where did the cement come? So everything is a combination of earth, water, fire, air, ether, right? All the whatever is the creation is a combination of all that. But who in the first place gave the earth, water, air, fire, ether? That is the Supreme Lord. So that we should not forget. We should not remember the engineer who built this building, but we should not forget the supreme engineer who has actually provided the raw materials in the first place. So that is what Brahma has done. He's created the different planetary positions where these bodies, based on their past desires, and the body which is awarded to them based on the Prakriti which is sanctioning that, they are placed in the different planetary positions to fulfill their desire and to be able to continue their journey to the next body. So all these, where they will work, the positioning in the 5th canto, we saw the different planets that were created. All this is a part of Visarga only, right? Lord Brahma has done. So 3rd to 5th cantos covered that already elaborately. We don't have to again discuss that. And we already discussed that how Lord Brahma is the, and Janmadhyasya Yataha is the personality. We already discussed that part. Text 28. Namadhyaya Bijaya Jnana Vijnana Murtaye Pranendriya Mano Buddhi Vikarer Vyaktim Iyushe. Translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Shall I read Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Translation. I offer my obeisances to the original personality within his universe, Lord Brahma, who is cognizant and who can apply his mind and realized intelligence in creating this cosmic manifestation. It is because of his activities that everything within the universe is visible. He is therefore the cause of all manifestations. Hare Krishna Mataji.
This is the prayer being offered by, please remember this again and again. Hiranyakashipu is offering to Brahma, not to the Supreme Lord. Purport. The Vedanta Sutra begins by declaring that the absolute person is the original source of all creation. Again, Janmadhyasya Yataha. One may ask whether Lord Brahma is the supreme absolute person. No, the supreme absolute person is Krishna. Brahma receives this mind, intelligence, materials, and everything else from Krishna, and then he becomes the secondary creator, the engineer of this universe. In this regard, we may note that the creation does not take place accidentally because of the explosion of a chunk. Such nonsensical theories are not accepted by Vedic students. The first created living being is Brahma, who is endowed with perfect knowledge and intelligence by the Lord. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye. Although Brahma is the first created being, he is not independent, for he receives help from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his heart. There is no one but Brahma at the time of creation, and therefore he receives his intelligence directly from the Lord through the heart. This has been discussed in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Brahma is described in this verse as the original cause of cosmic manifestation, and this applies to his position in the material world. There are many such controllers, all of whom are created by the Supreme Lord Vishnu. This is illustrated by an incident described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When the Brahma of this particular universe was invited by Krishna to Dwarka, he thought that he was the only Brahma. Therefore, when Krishna inquired from his servant which Brahma was at the door to visit, Lord Brahma was surprised. He replied that, of course, Lord Brahma, the father of the 4 Kumaras, was waiting at the door. Later, Lord Brahma asked Krishna why he had inquired which Brahma had come. He was then informed that there are millions of other Brahmas because there are millions of universes. Krishna then called all the Brahmas who immediately came to visit him. The Chaturmukha Brahma, the 4-headed Brahma of this universe, thought himself a very insignificant creature in the presence of so many Brahmas with so many heads. Thus, although there is a Brahma who is the engineer of each universe, Krishna is the original source of all of them. We already discussed this, but sometimes if you read this example, we also have to realize that sometimes we think that we are the be all and end all of our universe, right? Our little universe, our little house, or our little community, we feel that we are very great. But when we see the whole purpose of Bhagavatam is when we see the greatness of the Lord in the creation and how he engineered everything. And there are so many bodies that he's created, 84 lakh species, 4 lakhs of human species. And in that 4 lakh human species, there are millions and millions of humans. And in that, I am just one person who is so insignificant. We understand how small we are, that we need to bring our heads down. Text 29. Tvam ishishe jagatas. Tvam ishishe jagatastas. Tushascha pranena mukhyena. Patih prajanam. Chittasya chittair mana indriyanam. Patir mahan bhuta gunashayesham. Translation. I'll read it. Your Lordship, being the origin of the life of this material world, is the master and controller of the living entities, both moving and stationary, and you inspire their consciousness. You maintain the mind and the acting and knowledge acquiring senses, and therefore you are the great controller of all the material elements and their qualities, and you are the controller of all desires. So he is continuing the glorification of Brahma. In this verse, it is clearly indicated the original source of everything is life. Brahma was instructed by the Supreme Life, Krishna. Krishna is the supreme living entity, Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanash Chaitananam. And Brahma is also a living entity. But the original source of Brahma is Krishna. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.7, Matta Paratarananyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. Oh, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Krishna is the original source of Brahma, who is the original source of this universe. Brahma is a representative of Krishna, and therefore all the qualities and activities of Krishna are also present in Lord Brahma. The same thing that we have discussed so far. Text 30. Tvam saptatantun vitanoshi tanva traya chaturputraka vidyaya cha tvam ekatma vatam anadir anantapara kavirantaratma. Anybody wants to do translation? My dear Lord, by your form as the Vedas personified and through knowledge relating to the activities of all the Yajnik Brahmanas, you spread the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies of the 7 kinds of sacrifices, headed by Agnishtoma. Indeed, you inspire the Yajnik Brahmanas to perform the rituals mentioned in the 3 Vedas. Being the Supreme Soul, the Super Soul of all living entities, you are beginningless, endless, and omniscient, beyond the limits of time and space. Who is giving the credit of Vedas also to Brahma, but we know that who has given that knowledge to Brahma in the first place of Vedas? What is that? Tene Hridayadi Kave, Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kave. So, in the Hridaya of Brahma, it was actually the Supreme Lord only who has given that inspiration of the Vedas. So, the same thing actually, the purport also covers in Bhagavad Gita that Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Krishna only is giving the remembrance, the knowledge, and the forgetfulness. Any living being, including Brahma, if he gets anything, is because of this particular rule that Krishna has placed in Bhagavad Gita about Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Vedaischa Sarvair Ahameva Vidya. I am only the one who is supposed to be known. Sarvasya Chaha Hridi Sannivishtu. Right. So when you hear, when you're hearing this translation, it appears like it is a prayer being offered to by a great devotees to Supreme Lord. We will somebody who is reading this and not knowing the context will not even know that it is by Hiranyakashipu to Brahma. So whose whole purpose of actually doing all these prayers is to take revenge from Supreme Lord and wanting to become immortal. So his perception actually shows here that he is actually discrediting everything that is of the Supreme Lord or the qualities of the Supreme Lord. And he is giving Brahma, he's treating Brahma as a Supreme Personality. And this is a materialistic perception. So that is what most of the people in this material universe actually believe, not even in the material universe, actually in India, because others don't know the existence of Brahma. Right? Spiritual reality is beyond this material perception. So anything which we are trying to, when we say that, okay, we want to see with our eyes, we want to hear with our ears and everything, we have to remember that our senses are imperfect. And with the imperfect senses, we are trying to establish something which is, we are trying to find the truth and the evidence for the truth. Then that truth also will be imperfect. So reality can be known by hearing only from a bona fide authority and with faith because of our imperfect senses. This Prabhupada has reiterated many, many times, especially in the Nectar of Instructions. The starting itself talks about how imperfect our senses are. So, and when we are trying to hear from the bona fide devotees, that is called Shrota Pantha. Shrota Pantha. And the path of hearing from the bona fide sources. And that will tell us the real spiritual reality. Materialistic people, they just want to exploit and enjoy. That is their nature. Like Lilananda Prabhu covered very elaborately yesterday, that how actually we try to exploit and enjoy, only then we try to negate the Supreme Lord. Then we negate the fact that we don't want to appear as devotees. So it was very well covered yesterday. So, and all this is because of the envy we have. And we also show sometimes that we are envious of the Supreme Lord if we do that. Svam eva kalu. We are almost towards the end. So I may have to stretch a bit, about 5-10 minutes, that's it. But it will be covered because these are only prayers, and the context, purport, everything we have already understood very well right now. So I'll just give the reading so that we can conclude the chapter. But if there are any important points, only those I will highlight. Svam eva kalo nimisho jananam ayurlavadya avayavaikshiloshi kutastha atma parameshthyajo mahams tvam jiva lokasya cha jiva atma. Translation: O my Lord, your Lordship is eternally awake, seeing everything that happens. As eternal time, you reduce the duration of life for all living entities through your different parts, such as moments, seconds, minutes, and hours. Nonetheless, you are unchanged, resting in one place as the Super Soul, Witness, and Supreme Lord. the birthless, all-pervading controller who is the cause of life for all living entities. See, we all know that Supreme Lord is actually the one who's sitting as Super Soul and he is able to see everything. He is the one who's created the Kala. He is actually Kala. The Kala itself is Supreme Lord. That's what Aham Kalosmi. That's what he says in Bhagavad Gita also. So that's what Prabhupada also clarifies in this particular purport. Right? Lord has many forms, right? Why he's clarifying this is that all-pervading controller who is the cause of all living entities. So here, reduce the duration. So this is partly like, that's what Supreme Lord actually does. He appears as Kala also. Kala is an impersonal form. It's not a person, but Kala is also Supreme Lord. Super Soul is also Supreme Lord. And even the person Supreme Lord is also Supreme Lord. So the, what is that? Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan realizations. Is basically, this can cover all of that. I hope I have your permission to extend for 5 minutes. I'll just cover it there. Tvatta param na paramapyanejad ejad cha kinchit vyatiriktamasti vidya kalaste tanavanscha sarva hiranyagarbhosi brihatriprishtha. Translation: there is nothing separate from you, whether it be better or lower, stationary or moving. The knowledge derived from the Vedic literatures like the Upanishads and from all sublimes of the original Vedic knowledge form your external body. You are Hiranyagarbha, the reservoir of the universe, but nonetheless, being situated as a supreme controller, you are transcendental to the material world, which consists of the 3 modes of material nature. So here, Prabhupada actually quotes the Brahma Samhita. Yasyai kanishvasita kala mathavalambya jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanatha. He's quoting the Brahma Samhita here, which says that also within the womb of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu, everybody actually at the time of the annihilation come into the Hiranyagarbha. Nothing there is separate from the Supreme Lord. So that is the Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Right. Yes. Text 33. Vyaktam vibho sthulamidam shariram yenendriya prananam manogunam svam bhunkshe sthito dhamani paramishthi avyakta atma purusha purana. Purusha Purana, that we know that it's actually the Supreme Lord, but here it is being addressed to Brahmaji. O my Lord, being changelessly situated in your own abode, you expand your universal form within this cosmic manifestation, thus appearing to taste the material world. You are Brahman, the Super Soul, the oldest, the personality of Godhead. The oldest. The first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam itself covers that who is the oldest, who is the oldest of the oldest, and who is all pervading. Everything is covered in that. One absolute truth, Bhagavan pervades all by his material cosmic manifestation. So we know that all the energy that we see is also the Supreme Lord, the Brahman. Every super soul which is sitting within everyone's heart, every living being is also the Supreme Lord, and the Bhagavan who is doing this entire creation and managing, maintaining us all is also the Supreme Lord. Ananta Vyakta Rupena Yenidam Akhilam Tatam Chidachit Shakti Yuktaya Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, Supreme, who in his unlimited, unmanifested form has expanded the cosmic manifestation the form of the totality of the universes. He possesses external and internal energies and the mixed energy called the marginal potency, which consists of all the living entities. So here his prayers of glorification are ending, and now he start with his boons, which are very simple and this one. So the translation is self-explanatory. We exactly know who has the internal potency, external potency, and the marginal potency, how it belongs to the Supreme Lord. Now he starts his benedictions that he requires, which is the second element of the this one. Yadidasya abhimatan varan me varadottama bhutebhyastvad vishrushtebhyo mrityurma bhun mama prabho. O my Lord, O best of the givers of benediction, if you will kindly grant me the benediction I desire, please let me not meet death from any of the living entities created by you. So actually he also knows that Brahma also has an end time. He can't avoid immortality by himself. So he's trying to twist in such a way that he eliminates all the different causes through which he can have death. So one of the important causes is from any other living entity created by you, because he fears that that Supreme Lord who has killed his brother Hiranyaksha can also appear as another living entity and actually kill me. That's the reason why. So Hiranyaksha Kashipu has adored Lord Brahma as this Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Is very carefully asking him for benedictions that will be almost as good as immortality. That's what Prabhupada is actually saying in the purport also. Nantar bahir divanaktam anyasmadapi chayudhai na bhuma nambare mrityur na narair na mrigarapi. So this is the famous thing that we know. Grant me that I not die within any residence or outside any residence, during the daytime or at night, nor on the ground or in the sky. Grant me that my death not be brought by any being other than those created by you, nor by any weapon. So here, earlier he said, no other being can kill me. Now he is saying, grant me my death not be brought by any being other than those created by you. So, nor by any weapon, nor by any human being or animal. Anni said, I will. So he's trying to guard against weapons. Because he was killed by in the boar form. That's why he said ki no other animal, right? No other weapons. That's why he was killed by the nails, right? Time and space. That's why he is asking for it should not be day or it should not be night. He forgot about the twilight time. Twilight time was created exclusively to kill Hiranyakashipu. Natural death. Yes. This is the last verse of this chapter. Vyasubhirva madbhirva surasura mahoragai aprati dvandvatam yuddhe aikapatyam cha dehinam sarvesham lokapalanam mahimanam yathatmanah tapo yoga prabhavanam yannarishyati karhichit. Translation. Grant me that I not meet death from any entity living or non-living. Grant me further that I not be killed by any demigod or demon or by any great snake from the lower planets. Since no one can kill you in the battlefield, you have no competitor. Therefore, grant me the benediction that I too may not have any rival. Give me sole lordship over all the living entities and presiding deities, and give me all the glories obtained by that position. Furthermore, give me all the mystic powers attained by long austerities and the practice of yoga, for these cannot be lost at any time. So Lord Brahma obtained the supreme position due to long austerities and penances, mystic yoga, meditation, and so on. Hiranyakashipu wanted a similar position. The ordinary powers achieved by mystic yoga, austerities, and other processes are sometimes vanquished, but the powers obtained by the mercy of Lord are never vanquished. So why is he talking about those powers which are obtained by the Lord? Because Brahma has obtained that So no one can kill you in the battlefield, and that is Brahma who has obtained such powers from the Supreme Lord. Whatever Supreme Lord gives, those are never vanquished, those benedictions. So Hiranyakashipu therefore wanted a benediction that would never be vanquished. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 7th canto, 3rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Hiranyakashipu's plan to become immortal. Thank you for everybody's patience, and I'm really sorry for extending my time. Is there anything that I can answer with in terms of questions? Hare Krishna. Or then we can conclude the class if everything is okay. Any feedback? No eerie silence.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for the wonderful class. I think you done all the hard work preparation. It looks, I mean, it can be seen. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Mataji.
That is just my attempt to stick to the timelines, Prabhuji. Still, he could not. But yeah. Thank you so much for being here until then. So we'll conclude the class then. If there are
Wonderful presentation, Mataji. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna. Thank you so much. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. लीला प्रभुपाद की जय. श्रीमद् भागवतम बुक रीडिंग की जय. हरे कृष्णा. दंडवत प्रणाम.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danda Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, Dandavad Pranams. Excellent class.
Thank you. You all can exit Prabhuji's and Mataji's, then I'll end the class.